Well, okay, I've got to tell you this. Now, a few of my friends know about this. One of them also talked to my mom because they were very concerned when I told my friend that my mom was prophesying certain things. Make it quick, because otherwise this could go on for 3 hours. But my mother was very prophetic. When I was a child, I would have dreams. This is going to sound weird to Christians, okay? I would have dreams when I was a little girl, 4 years old, 5 years old. And I'm telling you, it could be scary if I tell you that part of the story. I'm going to have to make this a two-parter. I would enter into my brother's dreams for some reason. And so my brother got really upset because I knew what his dream was about. And I said, well, I was there. And he got really upset, and then my mom thought she would have the talk with me. But she told me later on that she waited for a reason. So here it comes around. I'm 12 years old now, and my mom has this talk with me. And at the time, of course, we were raised to believe in God, but let me tell you a little something prior to us really going all the way in believing, okay? So Christians know it as prophecy. But at that time, my mom had no teaching. No one taught her anything. She would read the Bible once in a while, and she would go to church. She believed in God. But she thought she had, it was called clairvoyance. She also thought it was, I think she said ESP. I think it's extrasensory perception. I don't even know. I didn't look it up. The reason why I'm starting to tell this on YouTube is because I was on another YouTube. I made a comment about things are coming to pass that my mom had talked about years and years ago. And this person asked, how did it end? And I thought, you know what, I should come onto my channel and say something. I only have like 45 subscribers, so I mean, you know, for what it's worth, hopefully people, well, all the people I know, they know I'm telling the truth. Because my mom did share with me, it was August 1994, she shared with me something that just was, even though I knew she was prophetic, because when I was 12, I thought of her as clairvoyant because she said she had clairvoyance because she didn't understand it. She would know when someone was going to die in the family. She would know to pray for a certain celebrity because they were going to die. And every time she said that, it would happen. And you're not going to believe the celebrities that she told me would die. It wasn't until after she passed away that those celebrities started to die. She felt later on in her life, when she gave her life completely to God, that now it was no longer considered ESP, clairvoyance, and whatever else. She said, maybe I have a gift of prophecy, and she had a question mark to that. But she always told me she felt assigned to certain people, and so she would begin to pray for them, like really, really pray for them, because she knew their time was short. So I'll backtrack. So I'm 12 years old. My mom has this talk with me, and she says, I think you have what I have. Well, I don't know that I have what my mother had, but I know this. I have always dreamt of tragedies and disasters earthquakes, all kinds of things. And I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, and this is even before I really fully gave my life to God. But I read a scripture that God gives you a gift, just like people who do music and sing about Satan or whatever they sing about. They have a gift. It's meant to be used for God, but they still have their gift, whether they use it or not. So here I would be in my 20s and going out partying and going to clubs, dancing with guys, girls, whatever, And I'm old now. I'm going on 60. So it's like I had this go out and have a good time attitude, and then sometimes I would have this dream. And I would think, gosh, I can't shake this. I could not shake these dreams. Things would start happening after these dreams. It could be a year from then. It could be a couple of months. Like there was no timeline given. But my mom, she usually knew things very quickly, within a year. This time around was really different. It was August 1994. She said, I want you to look at my will. And I said, why? What's going on? Tell me what's going on. Of course, I'm thinking cancer. I'm thinking something happened. She went to the doctor. Something happened. She needs to tell me now. Because the last thing you want to do at age 31 is to look at your mom's will. My mom was not that old. So I'm like, Mom, what's going on? Really? What's going on? And she goes, she opens the garage door and she goes, these cabinets your dad put up in the garage, you need to move up in the hills somewhere above 700 feet elevation. And I'm thinking at that time, all I've ever known was being in a city. Okay, I was a tough girl. I was an athlete. I was pretty tough, did martial arts. I was not thin-skinned for anything, but all I ever knew was how to camp. But I'm thinking, 700 feet? Now that sounded like big mountains to me, but of course we know that's not big mountain time. But it's exactly what she said, above 700 feet. She wasn't saying be at 700 feet. She was saying be above 700 feet. Well, okay, I remembered it. I have a very good memory. I'm like my great-grandmother. She was born in 1898. She died at age 98. And she taught me so many things. Yes, my great-grandmother. And she had the best memory in the world. In fact, I think she would have lived to 120 had she not eaten so many Hershey bars and ate everything she ever wanted to eat, right? But she knew how to do things like churn butter, make cottage cheese, smoke meats. She knew how to do all of these things. And some of those things she taught me. I did not know that the entire time of my life growing up, that God was preparing me through other people and other means. God obviously had talked to my mom about something, whether it was in a dream or sometimes people say, God told me this, God told me that. The only way I can tell you that personally is if I'm seeing it in a vision or a dream. Because I do see some people saying they're prophets, but to me, a prophet, according to the Bible, is so different from what some people are calling themselves today. Prophets are supposed to warn people. Prophets have also been known to correct people, but only people who believe in God, not just everybody. So anyway, back to this. Above 700 feet, up in the hills, or higher or above the hills, 700 feet and higher, okay? And well and septic. I'm like, oh, what is well and septic, Mom? What is that? She said, you'll know. I'm thinking, well and septic. Well, guess what? At that age, we didn't have, the cell phone I had was actually a car phone, and it was wired into my car, right? Grounded in, and then it had to pick up a signal. It was like $200 to $300 a month just to have it. Every time you made a call, it cost you like $5. Then I had a briefcase phone. I mean, we didn't have Google and Yahoo, and AOL was one of the first I had ever encountered, but we didn't have that. We had the Britannica encyclopedias, and I didn't have a reference, right? But she said, you'll know when it's time. Of course, on my mind, and I'm trying to spare you of all the detail because there's so much more detail. There's a lot more babble in it because, to be honest, if your mother told you this or your dad told you this, you're worried then. And it's like you're trying to get out of them. What is going on? I mean, what did God show you something? What is going on? Do you have a sickness, something you're not telling me about? So anyway, my mom proceeded and she said, you are going to know when it's time to get there, and you're going to know how to use things. I don't know how, but you're going to know how to do certain things. And I said, okay, Mom, I don't know what's going on, but I want it. She goes, I just listen. I want you to understand a big tragedy is going to happen. It's going to happen, and people are going to be knocking at your door. They will need help, and you will know how to help them. I just remember looking at my mom's face, and I thought, something, what do I do? I mean, I felt so lost because I believed in God, but I didn't have God at the time. I was living my life, and I felt young and strong. I worked out. I went out with whoever I wanted to. I didn't have any real commitments. I went to work, spent my money, went down to LA, had fun on Venice Beach, worked out with the bodybuilders. I just thought this is what life was about, is to just live for yourself, really. You can believe in God, but live for yourself. That's all I could think of, really. And so this was just bizarre to me. I already knew that when she said things, they came true. But to actually predict your own passing away, that hit me. I can get really emotional about it, but I'm trying not to even go there. But it hit me so hard that I ended up calling a family member saying, can you just dig this out of Mom and see what's going on with her? I mean, something's not right, because she knows things ahead of time, but this is just the most bizarre knowing of things. Hi, sweetie. What you doing? Oh, okay, I'll pick you up. Well, he couldn't get it out of her either. She just... And what was really bizarre to me on top of this is that she didn't really want to talk to him about it. She was talking to me. She was giving me instructions. So I said, well, okay, Mom, I will do this. Okay, I promise. Yes, I promise. But I'm not looking at your will. She said, well, I think you should. Well, of course, months go by, days go by, hours go by, minutes go by, seconds go by, you forget things, and you're like, I'm living my life. And, suddenly in the next year, it was about 11 months and 12 days, I started having dreams, and I kept feeling like I was going to die. And I kept waking up thinking, I'd better spend more time with my mom. Now, isn't that bizarre? I'd better spend more time with my mom because I think I'm going to die. Now, here it comes, August 1995. My mom passes away. She didn't have cancer. We had 2 autopsies, 2 toxicology reports. I had talked to her doctor. Of course, I'm devastated during this whole time. I can't even stop crying. I mean, I don't cry much at all, but I just could not stop. Nobody could talk to me really because I'd start crying. And then I started talking to friends who had talked to her prior, and they said, hey, she really predicted her death. Of course, that was the last thing I wanted to talk about. Of course, you know, my friends are kind, of course, and they just kind of stayed back. They knew I was grieving, and they didn't want to be insensitive, but they knew, and they reminded me. Even though I started thinking about it, they reminded me. My mom had already prophesied that she would not be here in the next year, and it was 12 months exactly. I have to skip a lot of detail because, like I said, this could go on for hours. I'm estimating 3 hours, but it could be an all-dayer. So I can tell you that once she had passed on, of course I was grieving, and some bizarre things had happened in the house after that. And I'm not saying ghosts or demonic things or anything like that. I'm just saying some bizarre things. And my friends knew about it because 2 of them were there, and then another one was there at a later time and had noticed things. And then the strangest thing happened that it's very hard for me to talk about because it's kind of not in my belief, because I believe, like the Bible says, to be absent from the body is to be present with the Lord. And even if you're in the grave waiting for Jesus to come again, you're still present with the Lord. So that's for another time to talk about also. But I'm not preaching at anybody, but I am a Christian now. And I want for people to realize I have been holding this for years, and only friends have known. Some family knew, but they have different beliefs, like the clairvoyance and magic and ESP and telekinesis, and they believe in certain things like that. Things I really don't believe in. So who do I talk to? A couple of friends who have known all this time, and now we have YouTube. We've had it for years, but I didn't start watching YouTube until 2 years ago. Isn't that bizarre? Oh wait, sorry, I talked about having a good memory. It's been 3 years. Okay, so anyhow, I remember posting things on YouTube years ago, but I didn't watch YouTube. I didn't watch other people's stuff. I just thought, oh good, we have a platform, we could record stuff. That way, you know, all my VHS recordings and things like that won't go to waste. So I will tell you about these certain bizarre things. So my mom's favorite wood was maple wood. Her favorite flowers were orchids. I remember going to the funeral home, and I said, I can't afford much. I'm paying for this on my own, and I can't afford much. So I chose this pretty fabric, roses on it and everything, type of coffin. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. Well, when we went to, they call it a wake when it's Catholic, and they call it a viewing when it's Christian, whatever. They had this, they asked did I want a viewing, and I thought, well, she looks good, sure. And so we had the viewing, and her work friends, family, some of my friends came, cousins, and then I thought, oh gosh, where are the flowers? And then my friend Jay goes and calls the florist and said, hey, what happened? They said, oh, we'll just bring something, okay? Is that okay? And she goes, well, yeah. And she asked me, and I said, Yeah, and back then, 1995, I said, well, how much am I paying for this? $325? They said, it's okay. We'll just give it to you. You know what they brought? You know what they brought? Orchids. So we're all there viewing, and then it dawned on me, when you're grieving, you miss out a lot. I mean, your mind is spinning, people are greeting you, and it's like, I don't know, some people take it really better than I did, but I was just like in some kind of other land, not paying attention. And then someone comes up to me and says, Lisa, my gosh, can you afford that? I said, afford what? And I said, that beautiful coffin. I looked and I go, oh my gosh. So I go to the director and I said, hey, I can't afford, that's that one that's like $13,000 or something crazy like that. And he goes, oh, we made a mistake. And I said, I don't know what's going on here, but I can't afford that. He said, well, that's a maple wood coffin. I said, are you serious? Now, let me tell you, I was looking at, this is going to sound strange, but I was looking at two miracles right there. And of course, my friends were like, oh, and oh, it was like one of those comedy show moments where the whole audience is like, oh, because that was her favorite wood. Those were her favorite flowers. And I have pictures of her, and she looked alive. And this is just so bizarre. It's going to go on for too long. So I'm just going to start with the other. Okay. To skip through a lot. Sorry. It came down to where a family member allowed her house to not be taken care of. I got it out of foreclosure and I took care of it. And then I started feeling the urgency to leave, and I moved up into the hills. And then I found out 10 years later, wait a minute, this is not 700 feet and higher. Get this. It was 689 feet elevation. But because I know my mom and I know everything she said came true, I knew I had to leave, but I kept thinking, I can't right now. The market's not going to work. I was living with another friend, and she thought she was going to get married in 2008, and that fell through after we had already refinanced the house in her name. And we thought, oh, they'll get married and they'll take over and I'll move. Well, it fell through, and she ended up losing her job, had to foreclose the house and leave. She left the state to go back to her original birth state. And there I was in this house going, well, let's see, it's going through foreclosure. I don't have to pay half the mortgage now. So what do I do now? All I could hear in my mind is save that money. I started house shopping. A lot of homes were short sale, foreclosures, and I've got to skip through this part also, but I got a hold of one real estate agent. He said he was a Christian guy, so I trusted him, right? But he was more for money. It wasn't meant for me to be his client. So I called this other lady, wonderful lady, Christine Schlittenhart, and I'll say her name because she is one of the best realtors I have ever experienced and a very good friend now. She's a Christian. She literally prayed with me. And skipping all the detail, I got this house at 2,500 elevation on well and septic. I built my storage, and here I am. We might question, how am I ready? During that entire time of waiting and saving money and working and living, praising God and praying. I learned to fly planes. I learned, small planes, aircraft. I learned to weld, flux solder, fix all plumbing underneath the house, inside the house, tearing up drywall, using conduit when it was there, and then of course changing over to PVC and now flex pipe. I learned all types of things, how to put the electricity into a house 18 inches above. I even have trenched and worked with wells and things like that. So I learned so much, and usually not a lot of females my age have learned these kind of things. And so I learned so much during that time that God was definitely preparing me. And then I started having the dreams. My dream was of earthquakes. That's why on my Facebook I will post earthquake incoming. My friends will ask where. I don't know. Close. And then, I'm to pray about it. And the last dream that I had, because I had many dreams, and so I'd pray. Now, we might question that, like, why would God give you something like that? Is it to pray for, to delay it? Or I just pray, God, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's how I pray. Of course, I pray for people and healing and all that, but I pray that God's will be done because I don't want to interfere with what He wants to really do and allow. I'm not saying that God causes anything bad, but He can allow it. So the last dream I was watching a friend in the front lawn. I don't know what house we were at. My dad, who's not alive, but he was cooking on the stove. And then my other friend was leaning back on the rails of this like short, like maybe 4 steps down to the yard. And she goes, "You love me, Lee, right? You love me?" And I said, "Yeah, I love you." And then I look over at my other friend and I said, "I love you too." And she's entertaining this little kid. I don't know who this little kid is, but she's entertaining this little kid. And then I said, I'm looking up to the sky, and it's nighttime. I should have said that. I'm bad at setting the scene, huh? It was nighttime, and I'm looking to the sky all of a sudden, and I hear this, I don't know, just something loud, really loud. And then I'm seeing a light, a really bright light. And this thing goes right over our heads, like hundreds of feet up, I'm sure, but it was probably so big it seemed like it was really low. It was a missile, however you say it. This thing went over our heads, and I said, "Everybody in the house now." And I look at my dad, and suddenly he was someone else, and I said, "You know what's going to happen, don't you?" And it's like he changed into, I don't know, an angel or something, like a male angel. I don't know if there are female angels. I don't know that. But he was a male angel, and he's like, "I do." I said, because I was asking him, "You know what's going to happen, right? You know what's coming?" And he goes, "I do." And then I woke up. Man, when I woke up, boy, you know how that day went. But it was God showing me things are happening soon. So the next thing I know, He's getting me ready, and I'm old. I'm thinking, I'm old. I'm too old. Last year we had a winter storm, and a branch went in through the side of my house, and then took out my fence line on my acreage, and just all kinds of stuff. I have a fence up on the upper part so that my dogs don't get out, but I called an insurance company for the first time in my life, and they only covered, $11,000, I think. I had to cover the rest, and I just thought, oh gosh, I've got it. I'm getting too old for this. But I did it all. I got that fence up, I put the posts in, did everything. I refurbished a lot of wood. In fact, some of the things around my house, my neighbors next door are doctors, and he's like, you're practical. He goes, that's all. It's not indecent or anything, but like most people will use matching things. And I said, well, I've learned to build my log hut out of logs. And I made a little shed out of logs. So, who wants to go to Home Depot and spend a few $1,000s? So I just started using the wood around the property. And of course, being a woman, I'm like, man, it'd be nice to have a man around here. But, women can do things. Yeah, but you know what? I'm not in my 30s, 40s anymore, and pretty soon I'm not in my 50s anymore. So I'm just thinking, wow, do I have it in me, Lord? Are you going to give me all the strength I need? I know I'm strong, but I'm not who I used to be. But God made a way. If I can't split the logs by hand every day, I have a log splitter. I can't use an axe all the time on a tree. I have a chainsaw. If the power goes out, I know how to cook by fire. And I have generators, and then when the gas runs out, what do? Some solar panels, small ones. So during the years of waiting, and after my mom passed, God put me through a training program, is how I see it. He also worked on my attitude. He worked on my personality and my behaviors, and really delivered me out of feeling like I needed to do this or impress somebody or look too pretty, and having to keep up with the Joneses, how they say it. I don't have to do that. I'm up in the hills. I have my wood stove. And I know how to cook and jar and sterilize. I did skip a lot of detail. I also went through medical schooling. So I've just learned so much in my life, and I'm praising God for it. This is my testimony on dreams and prophecy, from my mom. And of course there's a lot more, but the night is not young anymore. So hopefully someone will get something out of this. I'm just saying to you, when you're listening to Canadian Prepper and you're listening to other channels, Southern Prepper 1, that's another good one, and they're saying get ready and prep, it's not going to hurt you to prep. And it doesn't matter what people think. If they think you're a loony, let them. Because they're also the people who are naysayers for a lot of things. Because I know that in one of my dreams, a lot of people tried to come up and they couldn't get in. Now that was a bizarre dream because I didn't have enough room. And so I had to talk to neighbors and say, can you take my friends in? Because these people, I don't know. But I let them in the gate. So I'm just thinking all of those naysayers, they're going to be running to and from. They're going to try to run from the city because that's where people do the looting, right? They're going to, and don't you know, it's like a darn movie. When something happens, somebody always steals a TV. It's like the power could be out, an EMP attack could happen. We have nothing for a couple of years, and they'll still take the darn TV. What the heck? Okay, well, anyway, peace out, everybody, and God bless you. Have a good night. I think you can comment on my thing, and if you have any questions, you could also email me. I know, old school, right? It's mwpstudios@yahoo.com. All right, have a good night. God bless.